Welcome back, class. Today we're going to be starting a new unit, and in this unit we're going to be graphing lines and functions. So before we get too far into graphing, first I want to talk about some terms so that we're all on the same page and we all know what we're talking about. On my board here I have a coordinate plane, and coordinate plane is a term that refers to this whole thing with an x-axis and a y-axis where we can graph points. Okay, so this is a coordinate plane, this whole picture here. Alright, and every coordinate plane has an origin, and an origin, if you think of like the origin of species, or origin means like the beginning. So the beginning of our coordinate plane is right here in the middle. Okay, so that's the origin, and that's when both our x and our y are 0. Okay, that's what origin refers to. The next thing we need to talk about is the x-axis, and the x-axis is this axis here that goes across. It goes horizontal. Okay, the way that I think of it is x usually means like crossing. You'll see like deer Xing or railroad Xing. It means crossing. So I think of x going across. X is across. All right, and if x goes across, then that means our y-axis must be this one here. Okay, and when I think of my y-axis, I think of y to the sky. Okay, y to the sky. It's our vertical axis, the one that goes up and down. So that's super important. If we're going to graph anything, we really need to know where the x-axis is and where the y-axis is. The next thing I want to talk about is quadrants. And quadrants, they refer to like a section of the graph. Okay, if you can see, our coordinate plane here is divided into 4 different sections, and each one of those are a quadrant. The way that they're numbered is a little bit silly, maybe. It's not the way that you would think to number them. If it were me numbering them, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but that's not the way the mathematicians back in the day decided to number them. So these are the quadrants. The first quadrant is right here. We call that quadrant number 1. The second quadrant, now they go in a counterclockwise direction. Counterclockwise. So over here would be quadrant 2. And usually they use Roman numerals to show which quadrant. So that's why I'm writing them in Roman numerals. But here's 1, here's 2. Quadrant number 3 is down here. Okay, and that leaves over here is quadrant number 4. If you're not into Roman numerals, that's okay. This is just 1, 2, 3, 4, if that makes a little more sense to you. Alright, so that's kind of some labeling of our coordinate plane here, and that will help us all be on the same page when we're talking about graphing these lines and points and things like that. Alright, let's talk about some coordinates. Alright, so when I think of coordinates, I think of directions. Because see, here's the thing is, math people, we thought of points on a coordinate plane, but we all wanted to make sure we were talking about the same point. Sometimes there's lots of points all over a coordinate plane, and we want to make sure that we're all talking about the exact same point. So we kind of give directions to that point. Okay, so that's why I have kind of a map up here, and this is your house. Okay, this is your house. And if you wanted to give someone directions, how do you get from your house to the park? Here's a park up here. You can see a little bench and a bird. Yeah? Okay, if you wanted to give someone directions on how to get from your house to the park, then you might use coordinates. Okay? So let's just pretend like this is a city here, and each one of these is a street or a block. Okay, so if you wanted to tell someone to go from your house to the park, you might tell them, hey, first you need to go east 1, 2, 3 blocks. Then you need to go north 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. And that's how you get to the park. So we would label that in math. We would say, oh, we moved to the right 3, and we moved up 4. Remember that the axis that runs across is your x. The axis that goes to the sky is y. So that's really important because that tells you which number to put first. Okay, we went 3 to the right first, so we used our x coordinate. And in your coordinates, x always comes first and then y. Okay, so just like alphabetical order, x, y. So in my coordinates, I said I went over 3 first. I went across 3, and then I went to the sky 4. So that's why my y is 4. Okay, so your x and then your y. Let's talk about how to get to the school. I couldn't draw a school, so I just drew a bus. Close enough. If you're at your house and you want to get to the bus or to the school, how are you going to get there? If you're trying to tell your buddy how to get there, you're going to say, hey, first you need to go to the east 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. Okay, so let's talk about that. That's going across. So that's our x. Our x must be 6. All right, then you have to tell them if you're going to go north or south from there. So you kind of go down the main road 6 blocks. And then you need to go south 1 block. You need to go down 1 block. So our y this time, since we're going down, is going to be -1. We went down 1 block. -1. Okay, that makes sense? So your x tells you which direction across. And then your y tells you either up if it's positive or down if it's negative. All right? And then finally, what if you want to go to the bank? Okay, you probably have a huge pile of birthday money that you need to bring to the bank. So the way that you get to the bank from your house, you're telling your buddy this. You go, hey, first you need to go to the west 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. And then I need to go south 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. Okay, so if you had to write the coordinates or the directions to the bank, our x would be, we went to the left 5. So this time instead of a positive number, I'm going to have a negative number. And then I went down 5. So my y direction is down, so it's negative. And I went down 5 blocks. So -5. All right, so mathematicians have just made an agreement that, hey, we're always going to tell the direction of the x first, and positive x's always go to the right, and negative x's always go to the left. And then after we tell which direction we're going on the x, then we're going to tell which direction we're going on the y. And positive y's always mean up, and negative y's always mean down. So that's just agreement that mathematicians have made. So if you're talking about coordinates now, okay, or I'm sorry, we've been talking about coordinates. Let's talk about quadrants. Quadrants. If you're talking about quadrants, that's kind of like the neighborhood, right? So the park is in neighborhood 1, the first quadrant. It looks like there's nothing over here in quadrant 2. I don't know what's over there. And the bank. If you just want to tell the general neighborhood where your friend, you wanted to tell him where the bank was, you'd say, oh, it's in the 3rd quadrant. It's in the 3rd neighborhood. That just gives a general direction of where that point is, in the 3rd quadrant. Okay, and the school, it ends up here in the 4th quadrant. That's what neighborhood the school is in. Okay, it doesn't give specific directions to the school, but generally the school is over here in the 4th quadrant, the 4th neighborhood. All right, I hope that helps a little bit, talking about coordinates and quadrants. All right, so now that we've done that, let's just plot some points. They're going to give us the direction now, and we need to decide where that point is on the coordinate plane. Let's try it out. All right, here we go. So in this example here, I have 3 points. I have S, T, and U, and it gives me the coordinates for those points, and I just need to plot them on my coordinate plane here. So let's look at S. The thing for S, the coordinates for S are -1, 4. All right, so I have to remember which axis is my x-axis. So I'm thinking x means a cross, cross, cross. This is my x-axis. Y to the sky, so this must be my y-axis, the one that's pointing to the sky. Okay, so now I just need to remember which number comes first. Well, they're in alphabetical order, so that means my x comes first, and my y is second. So my x is -1, so the one that's going across, I have to go to the left 1. Okay, right here. So far, so good. Then my y is 4. It's a positive 4. So since it's positive, that means I'm going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my S point. My marker's running out of ink. I apologize. All right, my next point is t. So I look at the directions for t, and the first number is my x. That's a 4. So on my x plane, it's a positive 4, so I go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, my second number is my y, and it's a positive 2. So positive means I go up. 1, 2. There it is. That's where t is. And then finally there's u. And my coordinates for u are -5, 2. My x is a -5. Negative means to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my y is 2. So I have to go up 2. 1, 2. And that's where u is. Now, if the problem asks me which quadrant are these points in, then I could say that t is in the first quadrant, s and u are in the second quadrants. I don't have anything in the third or fourth quadrant. All right, so hopefully that helps a little bit. If you have any questions, make sure you jot them down in your notes so we can talk about them in class. Otherwise, I hope that these sample problems come easy to you. Thanks. I'll see you next time.